You've received 4 weeks' notice that Far Right are planning a rally on Trent Bridge. It's going to be one of the largest rallies ever held in Nottingham More, the city. And obviously Trent Bridge goes into the county as well. That's why we put Trent Bridge. Counter-protest is also being organised, but community tensions are high. We want you to come up with some ideas. What will you do to keep communities safe? What communities will you target? What messages will you use to reassure communities? How will you communicate those messages? And any other ideas that you have?
When you think about the communities, you also have to think about how these people are going to come into the city, the transport hubs, all these things are going to be impacted by it. Is there other events happening like football?
Look at what the impact would be and start that wider communication with the police and other authorities and, around the county and other organisations like police, ambulance, etc., notifying local hospitals it's happening. Might not impact, might be nothing, but just so you're aware it's happening. One of the other things we also thought was important was getting both sides to sit round the table. So that's your far right and your counter process that was going to happen. The leaders of both or some representative from both to be sat at the table to make sure it was a bit more orchestrated.
We also spoke to you briefly about the IAG setup that the police have got, so different parts of the community being represented, so whether we could use those forums, those setups to hear from different parts of communities. And then we also spoke about stakeholder mapping, so making sure that we knew the right people within those communities to be able to get those messages out to kind of encourage that if the protest is happening, that it is a peaceful protest. But I think we recognise that needs to be a long-term activity, and when we've got 4 weeks to do it, it's quite an intense kind of time period to get all this right. So it's all about that prior preparation and planning happening far in advance, and then kind of polishing things nearer the time when these events are announced.
For us, it's communication, use the right sources to communicate what's actually happening, legislation to move it to somewhere where it's going to be less impactful, and keep everyone in the picture.
Support community cohesion and bring the community together rather than the community trying to seek a confrontation with the other groups. Alternative activities to keep the community occupied, breaking down language barriers and explaining things to people in a language that they can understand, so that there's no misapprehension and there's no misunderstanding about what's happening.
Nottingham is a very diverse city. The county is becoming increasingly diverse. It is actually a very cohesive city. It's very well connected. We are surrounded in a donut, essentially, of far-right threat. The reason why our city has so far remained reasonably safe is partly because we are such a connected, cohesive society. There's an awful lot of work going on already, really small organisations, 2 or 3 people, doing an awful lot of work in some of our most vulnerable and our hardest to reach, for want of a much better term, communities. It's our role to try and bring those organisations together, to enhance what they do, amplify what they do, and ensure that they're able to continue to do what they do.